So this and more I will be talking about tomorrow. I hope as many of you as possible can join us for this very musical Shabbat, and one which I will also be speaking about this incredibly life-changing message of seeing the positive in the world, seeing the positive in ourselves, because how many of us don't do that? We have complexes, we feel inferior, and by seeing the negative in ourselves, we ultimately nourish the negative. And on the contrary, when we see the positive in ourselves and, of course, in others, we do the same thing. And this goes back to this very practical approach of the Rebbe, because if nothing else, it is this powerful instrument of recognizing the good in others, however small, grasping at the positive we see, focusing on that, making a big deal out of it. That is what nourishes the positivity in others and pushes away their negativity. And there's no greater act of love than noticing the good that somebody else has or someone that they did. And furthermore, there's no more powerful tool. Just to bring in one other perpetual message of the Rebbe, always to add on, keep doing more. What you did was very important. Let's do more of the important. And therefore, with admissions on my own part of some slip-ups or longer hiatuses in the Living with the Times YouTube series. Friends, we must carry on with this. We have to keep adding on in the study of Torah. And the Rebbe always said the whole year is like the Hanukkah menorah. Add more light, add more light. It's always about adding light, not about focusing on the darkest. And the light pushes away the darkness by itself. So let us resolve after this Gimel Tamuz Shabbat to first of all continue doing the study sessions. Everyone should be trying, not because I'm a great lecturer. These ideas are not original. They're all from our great sages. And it's so important that we learn how our greatest rabbis and teachers saw the world through the lenses of the Torah. So I want to ask people to try to keep up with the classes. And one thing I think should be a unstoppable resolution. We must make at least one live meeting. And so I really want to urge everyone to do this. I'll conclude with one story which really brings out the idea of the looking for positivity. And with that, I will wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. There's a story of the previous Rebbe of Lubavitch. His name was Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, passed away in 1950, the father-in-law of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. And he once had some visitors who had been in Odessa. The previous Rebbe, of course, lived most of his life in Russia. He emigrated in 1940 to the United States, already not from Russia. He had been, since his departure from Russia, he had lived in Poland and Latvia. And strangely, had actually visited the United States in 1929, then returned to Europe. But anyway, he had some visitors from Russia. They were from Odessa, and the Rebbe said, "Oh, tell me about Odessa. I haven't been there in so long, and how are our Hasidim in Odessa? How are our brothers there?" And the person said, "Oh, you would be so proud. It's wonderful. They get up early in the morning, and they study Hasidic teachings, and they meditate, and then they pray, and then they make an honest living and take from their earnings and give to charity, and they make gatherings where one person inspires the other." Odessa really is a living example of the Hasidic idyllic spiritual and physical existence. And the Rebbe was so happy to hear that, and he gave him a gift, so to speak, a reward for presenting this report of the state of the followers of Hasidus in the city of Odessa. Now, another fellow had gotten wind of this, and he also was from Odessa. He thought, well, the Rebbe really wants to know what's going on in Odessa, particularly if he's rewarding people for it. He'll try to present a little bit more realistic perspective. And he said, "Rebbe, I'm also going to report to you about Odessa. It's not all roses. Actually, there are some people who are really not immersed in the Hasidic teachings. Some of them are not praying together with the congregation. Others do not participate in the study sessions. There is some room for concern there." He was expecting, in the same token, if what the Rebbe really wants is a report of Odessa, so let's have a real report. Let's report everything. The Rebbe was disappointed, didn't seem grateful for this perhaps factual report, and didn't reward him. And somehow the puzzlement of this Hasid was conveyed to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe didn't wait for him to ask the previous Rebbe of Lubavitch, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak. But this punchline really brings out the essence of what the message of the Rebbe, Rabbi Nachum Mendel Schneerson, is to. He turns to him and says, look, I already know what's happening in Odessa. I know the positive, I know the not so positive. I didn't ask that person what's happening in Odessa so I could find out what's happening in Odessa. I wanted to find out something about that person. I wanted to find out which Odessa he lives in. And I found that out, and I was so happy about that I even rewarded him for this. And now I found out from you which Odessa you live in, and I'm not so happy about that. And so, folks, Gimel Tamuz will be about which Odessa we live in. Have a great Shabbat. I hope we'll see some of you tomorrow. Shabbat Shalom.